Welcome to module 14.2 of basic electronics. So in some electronic applications or in case of certain signal transmissions, we need to change the DC level of signals. Okay, we need to manipulate the DC level of signals. So we might need to push the DC level of a signal up, or we might need to reduce the DC level of a signal. So clampers are basically circuits that change or alter the DC level of signals. Circuits that alter or change the DC level of a signal. Now let us consider this circuit here. So we have a capacitor C which is connected to a diode, and then this is a AC signal source. Let us call it VAC, and we are basically taking the output voltage from these two probes. So this is basically our output voltage V0, and at the input we are basically applying a sinusoidal signal. Okay, so this VAC is basically a sinusoidal signal source. Okay, now let us consider the graphs of how the signal input and the signal output will vary with time. So this horizontal axis is basically my time axis, and this vertical axis over here, let us first consider our VAC signal. So as I said that VAC is basically a sinusoidal source, so it's basically a sinusoidal signal. So let me draw a sinusoidal signal over here. So this is basically our VAC, a sinusoidal signal. Now what will be the charge, or how would be the voltage across the capacitor vary? So initially let us assume that the voltage across this capacitor is 0. Okay, so initially the voltage across this capacitor is 0, which is another way of saying that this capacitor is basically uncharged at t equal to 0. Okay, now once this voltage VAC basically surpasses V gamma, which is basically the cut-in voltage for this diode over here, then current would start to flow through this capacitor. Okay, so let me actually draw a straight line, a horizontal line over here to represent V gamma. So we'll draw with a different color. So this horizontal straight line basically denotes our V gamma, which is basically the cut-in voltage of the diode. So this voltage is basically V gamma, and once the sinusoidal input surpasses the value of V gamma, or the input voltage basically increases beyond V gamma, then current starts to flow through the diode and the capacitor actually starts to charge up. Okay, and the capacitor will charge to a maximum value when this magnitude of VAC is the maximum. Okay, so basically the capacitor would start charging from here at this point in the time axis. At this point in the time axis, the input voltage has surpassed the value of V gamma, or the input voltage has become greater than V gamma. Okay, so this capacitor would start to charge up. So I am drawing this voltage across the capacitor in this axis for the second plot. So this is basically VC. VC is the voltage across the capacitor. So it would start charging from here, and it would reach the maximum value when the input voltage VAC is at its maximum value. So this is the point of maximum. This point is the maximum voltage for Vc. Then after that, immediately when this voltage starts to decrease, okay, after this maximum point, when this voltage starts to decrease, immediately this diode basically becomes reverse biased. So the capacitor cannot discharge, and the voltage across the capacitor remains constant, almost constant. And then again, at this point again, this capacitor would charge up for a very small duration, for a very small instant. So more or less the voltage across the capacitor is basically constant because the capacitor cannot discharge through this diode actually. Okay, so for all the times except at these points over here, which are basically the peak points or the maximum voltage points for the input VAC, only at these points, this point, this point, and this point, this diode comes to a conducting state, and for a very small instant, only then a very small pulse like current flows through this capacitor. So the capacitor is more or less charged up, it is at its maximum value, and the maximum value of this charge across the capacitor is basically, what should be the maximum value? This maximum value should be Vm minus V gamma. So Vm minus V gamma, where Vm is basically the amplitude of this sinusoidal voltage. So this point here is basically Vm. So Vm is basically the amplitude of the sinusoidal voltage source VAC. So VAC is basically Vm sin omega t. So Vm is basically the amplitude of this sinusoidal voltage source, and the maximum voltage that this capacitor can develop is Vm minus V gamma, because there is a V gamma voltage drop across this diode. Okay, now since the voltage across the capacitor is being held constant, once the capacitor charges up, it starts to act like a battery because it is now offering a finite constant voltage. Okay, so once this capacitor charges up, this capacitor acts like a battery with voltage Vm minus V gamma. So the capacitor, once it charges up, it is equivalent to a battery with voltage Vm minus V gamma. Now, just as I said that since the diode is actually in a reverse biased or non-conducting state for most of the time duration, okay, this output voltage V0 is basically, so this the polarity of the voltage developed across the capacitor is like this. So plus on the left side and minus on the right side. So since this diode is actually reverse biased or in a non-conducting state for most of the time duration, this output voltage V0 is just VAC minus VC, which is basically V gamma plus Vm sin omega t minus 1. Okay, so at the output, if this is our axis for V0, at the output we will basically get a graph like this. So I am not drawing this graph up to time t by 4. So this is the t by 4 point where t is the time period. So this is 1/4 of the time period, and at 1/4 of the time period the capacitor achieves its maximum voltage, or the capacitor voltage comes to a stable state. Okay, so since up to time t by 4 the voltage across the capacitor is varying, this waveform, drawing this waveform here would be a slightly complicated task. It's not difficult actually, but it's complicated, and basically we are also not interested in the voltage across the output when the output is not in a steady state. So only when the output reaches a steady state, or only when the output across the capacitor, when the output across this diode here reaches a state where the pattern of output is not changing anymore, that is our point of interest. So we are really not interested about the output in this time frame when the capacitor is still picking up charge, or when the capacitor is still picking up the voltage. Only when the voltage across the capacitor has reached a stable state or reached a constant value, that is when the output across the diode reaches a definite pattern, and that is the point at which we are interested in the output across this circuit. So I am not drawing this output voltage in this time frame over here. So I will only draw the output voltage after time t by 4. So after the time t by 4, we basically have our output. So I'll draw in a different color. So we have our output like this. It's slightly again difficult to draw an exact sinusoid over here. Where this tiny offset here is basically V gamma. Okay, so let me draw this here, draw this straight line to indicate V gamma in this graph. So this tiny offset over here is V gamma, and so this is basically V gamma over here. And just as I stated that basically these are the only points, this point, and then this point. These are the only points where the diode is in a forward conducting state for a very small moment, or for a very small duration of time. Okay, only when the input voltage is at its maximum value, that is the time when the diode goes to a conducting state for a very brief duration. Okay, so this is our clamper circuit, and as you have noted that the output is also basically a sinusoid. The output voltage is also a sinusoidal voltage, but the DC level of the sinusoid voltage has shifted, and basically the DC level of the sinusoid at the output shifts because of the voltage that actually develops across this capacitor over here. So this capacitor basically acts as a battery once it's the voltage across this capacitor is constant, and since it acts as a battery, it basically provides a constant voltage, and it basically shifts the DC level of the signal, and the amount by which the DC level of the signal is shifted is equal to the voltage that develops across this capacitor. Okay, so in this circuit, since the voltage across the capacitor is Vm minus V gamma, the DC level of the signal has also changed by an amount Vm minus V gamma. Okay, so the change in DC level is equal to Vm minus V gamma. So note that in this case there is actually no change in the shape of the signal. Okay, so clipper circuits that we have studied earlier basically also change the shape of the signal. So they clip off portions of the signal. Clamper circuits on the other hand do not change the shape of a signal. They basically shift or change the DC level of a signal. Okay, so let us see another circuit. So we have the same thing, the capacitor over here. and then we have a diode and then a voltage source VB. Then we have this input here VAC, and we basically take our output from the same probe. Now let me first tell you what is the utility of this voltage source VB over here. So this voltage source VB basically helps to control how much DC shift in the signal level we need, or how much shift in the DC level of the signal we need. Okay, so this VB actually helps us to manipulate how much shift in the DC level of the signal we need. So by changing the voltage VB, we can actually change how much this DC level of the signal basically shifts. So let me show you how. So just like before, we have a sinusoidal signal, and as I stated, this horizontal axis is basically our time axis, and this axis is basically for the input voltage VAC, and we have a sinusoidal signal over here. So this is our sinusoidal input signal, and just as before, this capacitor changes, or the capacitor charges to its maximum voltage when the input voltage is basically maximum. So the capacitor would basically charge to its maximum at this point of the input signal, assuming that the initial voltage across the capacitor is basically 0. Okay, so now what is the point at which the capacitor would start to charge up, or the voltage across the capacitor would start to increase? So initially this let us say that we have connected the circuit, we have connected this voltage source VB. So initially the charge across the capacitor is 0, and then because we have connected this voltage source VB at t equal to 0, it basically reverse biases this diode. Okay, because at t equal to 0, the magnitude of voltage of VAC is basically 0. So no charge develops across the capacitor, or no voltage develops across the capacitor, and this diode basically starts conducting only when the voltage at this point over here becomes greater than VB plus V gamma. Only when the voltage at this point becomes greater than VB plus V gamma, or equal to VB plus V gamma, then it basically forward biases this diode, and so this diode starts to conduct and the capacitor starts to charge up. Okay, so let me draw this level here, VB plus V gamma. So let us assume that this level is basically VB plus V gamma over here. So this level is VB plus V gamma, and when the total input voltage basically surpasses VB plus V gamma, then the capacitor would start to charge up. So the capacitor starts to charge up, the voltage across the capacitor increases, and it reaches its maximum at the time frame t by 4, where the input voltage is at its maximum value. Okay, after that the capacitor voltage remains more or less constant because it cannot discharge. Okay, to discharge this capacitor, as I said that the capacitor voltage develops a polarity like this, and to discharge the capacitor has to conduct a current in this direction, and a current in this direction is not possible because the diode does not allow a current in this direction. Okay, the diode only allows a current in this direction, but to charge up the to discharge the capacitor, the current must flow in this direction. Okay, so in the reverse direction basically, and the diode doesn't allow this direction of current flow, so the capacitor basically cannot discharge. Okay, so this is our again time axis, and this is the voltage across the capacitor. Let us call it Vc. Now what is the maximum value of Vc, or what is the voltage at the steady state of the capacitor? Okay, basically this value. What is the maximum value of Vc? Note that the value or the voltage that develops across Vc is maximum when the input voltage Vac is basically maximum. So we just write Kirchhoff's voltage law for this loop over here when the input voltage is at its maximum value to actually find the maximum voltage that develops across the capacitor. So we write Kirchhoff's voltage law. So the input voltage when at its maximum value is Vac max, and the maximum voltage across the capacitor basically develops when Vac is at Vac max. Okay, so Vac max is equal to the voltage developed across the capacitor, so Vc, plus the voltage drop across the diode, which is V gamma, plus this voltage Vb. Okay, so Vc, so let me write it max here to just denote that the maximum value of the voltage developed across the capacitor. So Vc max is basically equal to Vac max minus V gamma plus Vb. Okay, so this point, or if we write this Vac max as Vm, which we wrote previously, so this becomes equal to Vm minus V gamma minus Vb over here. Okay, where Vm is basically the amplitude of Vac. Vm and Vac max are basically the same thing. Okay, so the voltage at this point is basically then Vm minus Vb minus V gamma. Okay, now what is the output voltage? Just as I stated that the diode is reverse biased for most of the time. Okay, once this capacitor is actually charged to its maximum value, once this capacitor is charged to its maximum voltage, this diode over here actually remains reverse biased or in a non-conducting state for most of the time, and only when the input voltage reaches to its maximum value, that is at this point, the diode becomes in a conducting state for a very brief duration. Okay, only at the maximum points of the input voltage the diode comes to a conducting state for a very brief duration. Okay, so we just basically write Kirchhoff's voltage law again in this loop, assuming that this diode is not in a conducting state, because most of the time the diode would not be in a conducting state, and we write the Kirchhoff's voltage law in this loop to actually get the output voltage. Okay, so V0, sorry, Vac is equal to Vc plus V0. So this implies that V0 must be equal to Vac minus Vc. Vac is basically Vm sin omega t, and Vc is basically Vm minus Vb minus V gamma. Okay, and these three are in basically brackets. So now we note that the DC level of the signal has been shifted by this voltage. This is basically the shift in DC level. So this is basically our shift in DC level. So earlier I stated that this voltage source VB is used to control how much shift in DC level I can have. By varying this voltage VB, I can actually change the shift in DC level of my output. So in this equation for V0, what are the parameters that I can control? I cannot control my input voltage Vm, because if I change the input voltage, everything would change, or the input voltage is basically coming from some signal source. So I would not like to change my input voltage. I would only like to shift my input voltage to a particular DC level. Okay, or I want to change the DC level of my input voltage. I do not want to change the amplitude of my input voltage. Okay, so I cannot change Vm because I do not want to change the amplitude of my input voltage. Okay, so Vm cannot be changed, and V gamma is also a constant, it also cannot be changed. So V gamma cannot be changed, Vm also cannot be changed. What can be changed is this voltage Vb over here. Okay, so by changing Vb, we can actually alter the DC level of my signal. Okay, so now what would the output signal look like? Now just to remind you, I have not changed the shape of my signal, or I have not changed the amplitude of my signal. I have only changed the DC level of my signal by this amount over here. Okay, so the output voltage would have the same shape as the input voltage. It would also be a sinusoid. So let me draw the output voltage over here. Again, I am not drawing the output voltage for this time duration where the capacitor is still charging. Okay, because I am not interested in the output voltage during this duration. I am only interested in the output voltage when the capacitor has reached the stable state, or the capacitor voltage has reached a constant value. So I am drawing this from here. Okay, so this is basically my output voltage waveform, V0. So let me write it here. This is the V0 axis, and this voltage over here, or this offset over here. So let me draw with a different color. This offset over here, or let us say the maximum voltage, is basically Vb plus V gamma. Okay, earlier it was just V gamma, now it is Vb plus V gamma. And it is actually not difficult to figure out why this maximum voltage is Vb plus V gamma, but I leave it to you for analysis. You are all intelligent people, so I don't think you need much time to actually understand why this maximum voltage is actually Vb plus V gamma. So do it yourself actually. Okay, but do it, do not leave it. So this maximum voltage over here is basically Vb plus V gamma. Okay, now let us actually do a small problem which someone from the last doubt clearing session actually asked. So this is our circuit where we have two resistors R1 and R2, and we have a diode here. Okay, and the information that is given to you is V gamma is equal to 0.7 volts, and we also, of course, we have a voltage source here, and this voltage source is a fluctuating voltage source VPS, and the range of fluctuation of VPS is basically 5 volts less than VPS less than 10 volts. Okay, now a minimum current through the diode is required to keep it in a conducting state. Okay, and that minimum diode current is given by ID min equals to 2 milliamperes. So this minimum diode current is always required to flow through the diode to keep it in a forward conducting state. Okay, and the maximum power dissipation that this diode can handle is basically 10 milliwatts. So PD max is basically equal to 10 milliwatts. So basically, if the power or power dissipation across the diode becomes higher than 10 milliwatts, then this diode may basically burn, or this diode may basically damage itself. Okay, so this is the information you are provided, and you are asked to determine appropriate values of R1 and R2. Okay, now this problem is basically equivalent to that of a Zener regulator, where this diode would basically be replaced by a Zener diode in reverse biased condition, and this resistance can be replaced by the load resistance RL. Other than that, this problem is basically equivalent to that of a Zener regulator. There is no basic difference when it comes to the techniques of solution of this problem. So now let us solve this problem. So it is asked that this diode should actually be kept on, and the minimum current that is required to flow through this diode is basically ID min equal to 2 milliamperes. Okay, and the maximum power dissipation through the diode is 10 milliwatts. Now since the voltage across this diode is approximately equal to V gamma, we can therefore find out the maximum current that can flow through the diode, or that is allowed to flow through the diode. Okay, so ID max, which is the maximum current that can flow through the diode, is equal to PD max divided by V gamma, approximately equal to, so 10 milliwatts divided by 0.7 volts, which gives me approximately, let me check this out, 10 divided by 0.7, so it's 14.28, so 14.28 milliamperes. This is the maximum current that can flow through a diode, and the minimum current that can flow through a diode is already given here. This is equal to 2 milliampere. I should not say that the minimum current that can flow through a diode, but it is basically the minimum current that is required to keep the diode in a forward conducting state. Okay, so ID min is basically equal to 2 milliamperes. Now if this diode is basically in a conducting state, then we already know that the voltage drop across this diode is approximately equal to V gamma. Okay, so the voltage at this point should also be equal to V gamma. Now you are asked to find out appropriate values of R1 and R2 such that a minimum current of 2 milliampere always flows through the diode. So the diode requires to maintain a minimum current of 2 milliamperes, but the current can be greater than that, and the maximum current that is allowed to flow through the diode is 14.28 milliamperes. Okay, so we are required to find out values of R1 and R2 that can satisfy basically these two conditions. Okay, So if the diode is in a conducting state, the voltage at this point is V gamma. This we already know. Now, when is the current through the diode maximum? So ID is maximum when this current I1 is basically maximum and I2 is basically minimum. Okay. Now in this case we will actually not assume that R2 is basically a variable resistance, which generally happens for Zener regulator. So here we will not assume that R2 is a variable resistance, but we will assume R2 is basically constant in this problem. Okay, so R2 can only draw a fixed amount of current. Okay, this current I2 is basically constant. R2 is basically not a variable resistor. Okay, so here the current through this diode is basically maximum when this voltage VPS is maximum. Why? Because the current through this resistor R2 is basically V gamma divided by R2. The voltage at this point is V gamma. So I2 is approximately constant and I2 is approximately equal to V gamma divided by R2. Okay. Now if the voltage VPS increases, because the voltage at this point is kept fixed at V gamma, the current I1 would basically increase. Now because the current I2 is constant, so whatever increase happens for the current I1, that increase in current basically flows through this diode as ID. So any increase in this current I1 must be reflected in this diode current ID over here. Okay, so the diode current ID is maximum when the voltage source VPS is basically maximum. So let us write the equations. So ID max, so VPS max minus V gamma divided by R1, this is basically I1, the current through the resistor R1. Okay, this is equal to ID max, just as I stated that the diode current is maximum when VPS is basically maximum. Okay, plus I2, which basically implies VPS max, it is given that this is equal to 10 volts. So 10 minus V gamma is 9.3 divided by R1 is equal to 14.28 milliamps plus I2 is basically V gamma divided by R2, so 0.7 divided by R2. So we basically get one equation in terms of R1 and R2, which is 9.3 divided by R1 plus 0.7 divided by R2 equals to minus here equals to 14.28. Okay, so we can write another equation when the diode current is minimum, and again just as before, the diode current is minimum when this voltage source VPS is at its minimum value. Okay, so VPS mean minus V gamma divided by R1, this is equal to ID mean, as I stated that when VPS is at its minimum value, then the minimum current should flow through the diode because the current I2 is basically constant, plus 0.7 divided by R2. Okay, so we again get another equation, so let us call it equation number 1. So we again get another equation which is so VPS mean is basically 5 volts, just as written here. So 4.3 divided by R1 minus 0.7 divided by R2 equals to ID mean, and ID mean is given to be 2 milliampere. So this is the second equation. So we just subtract this equation 2 from equation 1. Subtracting 2 from 1 we get 5 divided by R1 equals to 12.28. So R1 is basically 5 divided by 12.28 kilo ohms. So we had the current in milliampere, so that is why this should be kilo ohms over here. So 0.407 kilo ohms. So 0.407 kilo ohms. So this is the value of R1 which we have already got. Now about the value of R2. Okay, so note that we have two equations over here, equation number 1 and over here, and equation number 2 over here, and both of them might be used to find the value of R2. So let us find out the value of R2 from this equation. So 0.7 divided by R2. So from equation 1 I am doing. So from equation 1, 0.7 divided by R2 is basically equal to 9.3 divided by R1 minus 14.28 milliamperes. So 9.3 divided by R1, let me check it out. So this is 22.8. 22.8 minus 14.28, so which basically gives me 8.57. So 8.57. So R2 is basically 0.7 divided by 8.57. So this is basically 0.0816, 0.0816. So 0.0816 kilo ohms. So this is basically our answer, that R1 is equal to 0.407 kilo ohms and R2 is 0.0816 kilo ohms. So this is basically our answer. I have done a small mistake in the solution that I gave earlier, that I wrote R2 is basically equal to less than equal to 0.0816 kilo ohms, but that is not correct. So this is what the correct solution actually is. So let us do up to here. So thank you everyone.